Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hope everyone's having a good evening. Hey, Lori. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Laura. Hey, Haley. I know you're in the background playing your game. Hey, Karen.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, I saw sis. That kind of makes the thing that bullies are just, yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, though, guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, that kid is being picked on at home because bullies usually have a bully at home,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people don't forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, The Simpsons opened my eyes in the sense of why I can't think of the boy's name, but it was always picking on Bart. The reason why he was always picking on Bart is because he was being bullied at home by an adult.
Yep.
Hey, Boomy.
Hey, Boomy.
Welcome to Sand Van. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy what thing this is. Aquarius, the serial killers, as my series continues. My zodiac signs. Hey, Colleen, how are you?
Hey, Colleen.
Hey, Lori.
Colleen.
Yay. But yeah, I did some try to, like I said, I have the pages, but I only have three of them that it has this many pages, which is kind of messed up. But I have
Hmm?
Oh, I was reading that. Because I found actually information and trying to do more on some of this stuff, figuring out some of these criminals why they do what they do, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Pam.
Hey, Pam.
My first one starts off with his name is Joel Rifkin.
Okay.
Yeah. He was born January 20th, 1959.
Oh, no. Same day as Mrs. Solo's birthday.
Yeah. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
like birthdays. This guy obviously is older than most, and apparently,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And as far as I know, he is still alive. I had what I was thinking because he's
Oh,
still in prison.
well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Mm.
And this one guy, he started off right away. Joel started off as he was adopted by Bernard and Jeannie when he was only 3 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
So he already right away got was not wanted. I guess the woman who had him was out of whatever, she had been raped, something maybe, and didn't want the child.
Right.
In 1965, the family settled in East Meadow, New York, where Joel would spend most of his remaining years. It was hell from day one. Something about Joel set him apart, and an unidentified quality that made him an immediate outsider, natural prey to all manners of bullies. See, that's another reason why I with Crystal talking, because this guy was bullied. So
Mm-hmm.
it does tend to make a big difference in kids' lives because
Mm-hmm.
nowadays we're finding kids that are bullied are taking guns to school and killing them,
Yep.
because they don't know what else to do. It's the repeated because the schools won't do shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Same
school,
way,
I mean,
same
some
way
I
up here.
huh?
Yep. Same way up here.
Yeah, I mean there is that few. schools will do something about it, but majority of them are like, whatever, it's just kids on kids,
Yeah.
because they don't realize how bad it really is. And they
Exactly.
don't realize the mentality, I should say, of
Mhm.
what it does to a kid psychologically.
Yeah.
I was one of those kids.
Mm.
I from when my mom got with my stepdad, and already being a year behind, so most of my classmates, I was already like almost 2 years behind.
Right.
So I was older than my classmates. So
Mhm.
it just kind of, yeah. And then there was, by the time I was in second grade, these two boys, from the time that we were in second grade till all through middle school, because the school that I went to actually had elementary on one side of the school and then sixth, seventh, and eighth graders on the other side. So I didn't get away from them. And majority of, even with being in the classrooms, for some reason I was always in class with these two boys who always made fun of me all the time.
Oh, geez.
Which ended up being bad for me because they were day in and day out always telling me how stupid and dumb I was.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was bad enough that my seventh grade teacher decided to pass me because of my age.
Wow.
Um, but the good thing out of all that was, once I got away from that school and away from that crowd of kids and into high school, I was an honor roll student almost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
that, it made that much of a difference to be away from those people.
Mhm.
And I'm still proving it. Like, I wasn't dumb, obviously, because I have never, not all my classes in college that I've done, I've always A's or a B. And the only reason why I have that B is because it was math. And like, I for real worked my ass off for that B plus.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was just, it takes a toll on people for real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get that, Laura. Sometimes though, we don't realize, and some people don't realize they're being a bully until like later life, and like, wait, did I, being mean to those people and whatnot. Yeah, no, Laura, that it happens. At least you know your mistakes, and you didn't continue doing it as an adult, because let me tell you,
Right.
there is adults who continue to do and be
Mhm.
that bully.
Yeah.
Um, his and of course he became the dubbed him the turtle, because he had I don't if I put it, I think he had slouching posture, so they always called him the turtle, and he was slow. So he got excluded from team sports, neighborhood games. He was probably the last to ever be chosen, which I know how that
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
He was the butt of every prank and sadistic joke. Um, Assaulted him in school and pulled his pants down. They stole his lunch money, his books, harassed him constantly. Um, that's the thing is, he said he was an also academic failure, but that was because he wasn't diagnosed. He had dyslexia, but he had an IQ of 128.
Oh, wow.
So that means he really wasn't stupid. It just, that mentality, like what happened to me, happened to him.
Right.
Like, you kept being bullied because of your this or that. It's, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, thanks, Haley.
Thanks, Haley.
Yeah. So after graduating high school, he was interested in horticulture and photojournalism. Made several attempts at community college, and then attended the University of New York at Brockport, where he worked for for a time as a photographer on the school's newspaper called The Stylist. He held down various odd jobs, spending much of his money he made, and most of this money he always spent on prostitutes.
Mm.
Unfortunately, the 1977-78 year. Holy crap! I was a year to 2 years old there.
Mm.
His academic year. Joel's first attempt at a higher education, took him to Nassau Community College on Long Island. Bored and restless, he cut classes habitually, completing only one
Good,
course.
Laura.
Huh?
Oh, I was saying she's good, Laura.
Oh, okay. No, she was asking what the name. That's okay. His name is Joel Rifkin. I'll here. I'll let I find a picture of him. He's ugly. Let me tell you what.
Mm.
Like some of these killers, you can definitely tell they're just serial killers. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
I get people say people look like serial killers, but like these serial killers are not dumb.
Mm-mm.
That's just it. Most of they're not dumb. Obviously, they're not dumb because they get away with their shit. That's
Right.
the wrong one. Share screen.
Ew.
Yeah, this is what he looks like. This is the guy right here. This is what he looks like. And I'm
Yikes.
sure this would have been like what he looks more like thing
Mm-hmm.
closer to, or no, actually, this is probably what he looks like now. This is in
Oh,
2000.
okay.
This was 2018.
Oh, okay. I
So this,
recognize him.
so this is a newer picture of him, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he looked like when he got busted in
Mm.
1993, and of course, that's what he looks like now.
Hmm.
I'm just kind of ew.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, I can do that. I can keep that up there, so that way you guys know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the guy that I'm talking about. Do 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 do. The fall of '78, Joel transferred to the State University of Brockport, a Rochester suburb. He enjoyed photography club, but turned in his usual luckless academic performance over the next 2 years. Before dropping out in 1980, Joel had his only real girlfriend in Brockport, but the relationship went nowhere. His paramour recalling Joel as sweet but always depressed. Back at home with his parents, Joel tried Nassau College, Community College again, attending erratically, earning only 12 credits by the time he finally quit in '84.
Damn.
Yeah, so he went to doing a lot of school for for all that time,
Mm-hmm.
and only earned 12 credits. That's not, yeah. Joel's adopted father committed suicide to end the pain of cancer, thereby increasing his depression. At this time, he became increasingly obsessed with violence, murder, and prostitution. August of '87, Joel was arrested for soliciting a prostitute on a Hempstead, Long Island. He concealed this arrest from his family.
Mm.
Right, Laura?
Hi,
Hey,
yeah.
Roger, there you is.
Vinny's here too. Oop.
What did you ask? Ah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, Vinny, quit that.
Mm.
He says a thing. He says I'm ugly. Does that make me a serial killer? No, it does not.
No.
Stop it. I mean, it's just because of that. Like that's just these people too. And like I said, there is people want to look down on them, but a majority of serial killers have somewhat of intelligence. That is the reason why they don't get caught until like they've done killed multiple people. Which is like to be considered a serial killer, I guess in United States, what there is, it's the it has to be more than 3 people.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, sometimes you just got to get rid of those people. 1988, Joel enrolled in a 2-year horticulture study program at the State College of Technology, in Farmingdale, New York. For the first time in his life, he made straight A's for 2 consecutive semesters. Rewarded by selection for an internship at the prestigious Planting Fields Arboretum in Oyster Bay, New York. In March of 1989, despite his history of morbid fantasy, Joel would later claim he had to plan the murder of his first victim. Joel acknowledged that his violent mental images were a little more intense than regular at this time. His mother chose that month to travel outside of state, leaving Joel alone in the East Meadow house. Cruising Manhattan's East Village for hookers one night, he selected a young woman remembered only as Susie. She was hardcore drug addict, demanding several stops to purchase crack before they drove back to Long Island. After listless sex, Susie again asked Joel to take her out in search of drugs. Instead, he picked up a souvenir Hohenzizer shell and beat her furiously. I just lost control, he says. Later, I stopped when I got tired. Susie was still alive, however, and she fought back when he tried to move her, biting one of Joel's fingers deeply before he strangled her to death.
Damn.
Yeah, no, right? Like he just literally, you know how bad that had to have been bleeding if he was literally beating her and she's still alive. So she was for real fighting, and then he strangled her. So, geez. Hi, Mrs. Matthews.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Please like and share, please. Or subscribe. I'm just bleh. I'm in the middle of my reading. I'm just like baby dee. But that's all, folks. After wrestling her body into a plastic trash bag, Joel cleaned up the blood and signs of combat in his living room, then slept for several hours as if nothing happened.
Wow.
I know, right? It just makes you wonder, though, that these people, they kill someone and then they fall asleep and go to sleep like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Upon waking, he dragged Susie down to the basement, draped her body across the washer and dryer, then used that makeshift operating table to dismember her corpse with an X-Acto knife. You know, that would have been like...
X-Acto knife?
That's what I'm like, really? You know how hideous that would have been to do that?
Yeah, that would have been so all over the place.
I'm like, even if she was dead, like, that was
my God.
I mean, it wouldn't squirt as much, but that still would be hideous to use something like that to cut up. Yeah, like that's dedication.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what. Yeah, I know, right, Laura? Hey, Looter 8. Welcome.
Welcome.
In his mind, the grim task was reduced to biology class.
Wow.
I know, right? To foil identification, he severed Susie's fingertips and pulled her teeth with pliers. And
Whoa.
yeah, so he completely like did all of what would could have made her identifiable, which the fingerprints, the teeth, and
Yeah.
then he jammed her severed head into an old paint can.
Damn.
Yeah, this dude is kind of like, that's rough. That's rough. The other parts went into garbage bags and into his mother's car. Joel drove the body parts across the state line to New Jersey, dropping the head and legs in the woods near Hopewell. Doubling back from there, he returned to Manhattan, pitching the arms and torso into the East River.
Hmm.
He believed his victim would never be found, but he had been careless. March of 1989, a member of the Hopewell Valley Golf Club sliced his ball into the woods along the 7th green and found the can containing Susie's head. Joel suffered a major anxiety attack after learning that Susie was HIV positive. And
Yeah.
he was, yeah, that's what he gets, when he was
Karma,
cutting her up in
bitch.
pieces. Yeah. Karma, bitch. Following the case, as police prepared artists' rendering of the victim in life and checked them again against a list of 700 missing women. But Susie has never been identified. Her case remained unresolved
Hmm.
until Joe confessed in 93.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's just, like I said, as I always do, there's a reason why majority of serial killers choose whores, prostitutes as their thing, because
Mhm.
people don't look for them. They don't have
Mhm.
family that's looking for them. But it still doesn't make it right. They're still humans.
Yes.
Joel waited more than a year to claim his second victim. He was vague on dates, different reports placing the crime 14 months after Susie's murder. The victim was prostitute Julie Blackbird, selected for her Presidio Madonna look.
Hmm.
Joel drove her to East Meadow when his mother was again out of town, and they spent the night together. 9 the next morning, Joel recalled, completely bugging out, beating Blackbird with a heavy table leg before he strangled her. When she was dead, he considered raping her corpse
Hmm.
in conscious mutilation of a serial killer, Ted Bundy. Of course.
Of course.
but the but the prospecting of doing so repulsed him. Determined not to bung, bleh, not to bungle this disposal this time, Joel went out to purchase cement and a large mortar pan. He dismembered the corpse as before, placing the head and arms and legs in buckets weighed down with concrete. The torso filled a milk crate by itself. Driving into Manhattan, her head and torso. Yeah, okay. He driving to Manhattan, and her head and torso he threw into the East River, then dropping her weighed arms and legs into a Brooklyn barge canal. The remains were never found. We know Blackbird's fate today only from Joel's confession and from her diary stashed in his bedroom.
Hmm.
So that was the only reason why they linked him, is because her diary was in his possessions in his home.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Dragon.
Happy birthday, dragon. Again.
Hi, Donna.
Hey, Donna.
July 13th, 1991. Barbara was the next to die, a 31-year-old addict with arrest on her record for auto theft and prostitution. Joel picked her up, took her home to East Meadow for sex. When she fell asleep, he clubbed her with the same table leg he used on Julie, then finished the job by manual strangulation. Put off by the thought of another dismemberment, he wrapped her in plastic, folded her into a cardboard box, and placed her in the back of his mother's Toyota pickup. He drove her to the Hudson River, dropping her into the water near a cement plant. She was found hours later by firefighters on a training exercise, but this time Joel said, "It didn't even faze me." The coroner blamed her death on a drug overdose. Barb was buried in Pottersfield Cemetery, unidentified, until Joel confessed to her murder 2 years later. So he would confess, because there would have been two right there that would have never gotten. September 1st, 1991. Crack addict Mary DeLuca, a 22-year-old Long Island native, left a group of friends to earn the price of her next fix. Joel found her on Jamaica Avenue in Queens and drove her around New York until sunrise, shelling out $150 for drugs at various stops. They would at they wound up at a cheap motel. DeLuca first balking at sex and demanding more dope, then rushing through the act, complaining all the while. At some point in the litany, Joel asked DeLuca if she wanted to die, and she allegedly said yes. Here's we go with the allegedly. As he strangled her, he called, "She did nothing. She accepted it." He remembered her murder as one of the weird ones. It also left Joel with a new problem. Afraid to drag the corpse out in broad daylight, he drew inspiration from Hitchcock's Frenzy and went out to purchase a cheap steamer trunk, squeezing DeLuca inside it. From the motel, he drove upstate to Orange County and left DeLuca's body at a rest stop outside Cornwall near West Point. She was found a month later on October 1st, nude except for her brassiere, without ID. Decomposition was made, impossible to determine cause of death, and she was buried nameless, identified until 93 when he confessed again. Another September, I guess the same September. Brinken's selection process was erratic, sparing most of the hookers he patronized on a near nightly basis, prompting him to kill others on a whim. He picked up 31-year-old Yun Lee, a Korean native he had been with before. She was his second prostitute in an hour. That may explain his failure to perform as Lee went to work. He struck her on impulse, strangling her while she mouthed something about making a big mistake. It was Joel's first murder of someone he knew beforehand, and he experienced fleeting remorse. "Actually," he later said, "I thought I liked her." Joel wedged Lee into the same trunk he'd used for Mary and dropped her in the East River. She was found September 23, 8 days after DeLuca had 8 days before DeLuca, floating past Rendelia's Island, the Harlan River's mouth. Lee's ex-husband identified the body, sparing her from an unmarked grave. So literally, because they went and found her, they ended up going and actually finding DeLuca's body later. Yeah, I get that, Crystal, because it's like it just depends on where you are. Like, if you don't feel comfortable, then don't stay. I've done that, being a mom too, and even being at the mall and and having a weird dude following you around. It's kind of like, yeah. Christmas of 1991. Joel could not recall the name of number 6. He picked her up on West 46th Street in Manhattan and strangled her in his car during oral sex, describing the event as very quick. Afterward, he drove back to Long Island with the body slumped beside him, concealing her under a tarp at his rented workplace. Next, he drove to a recycling plant in Westbury, where he had once worked part-time and helped himself to a 55-gallon oil drum. There was ample room for Jane Doe in the barrel, safely hidden for the ride to the South Bronx, where Joel found a district rifle with junkyards and rolled her into the East River. About to leave, he was confronted by a patrolman who accused him of illegal dumping, but Joel persuaded them he was collecting junk instead. They let him go with a warning. Dan was like, "Okay, why don't the hell you all don't check? You just let people off on what they say." The oil drum worked so well for Joel that he purchased several more for use as makeshift coffins.
Wow.
On January 2nd, 1992, the first week at 39, Mary Ann Holman was his oldest victim, and an addict who sewed personalized G-strings for strippers when she wasn't working the streets. Joel
Mm.
drove her to the same parking lot where he had taken Yun Lee and strangled her during, yeah, we'll just call her oral sex. Because I hate using that word, that's just you.
Oh.
Later, he recalled the act as very automatic, not much with that one. He followed the same disposal procedure as with Lori back to Long Island, the oil drum, and Coney Island Creek.
Mm.
Yeah, right. Um, Not and that was January. Then all the way till July of that year, an anonymous caller reported Mary's floating remains to police 2 days before before one of the other bodies or his corpse was found. Unlike Orvito's, Holloman was identified from dental records that returned to her family for burial. Two floaters in as many days suggested a serial killer at large. But New York police had their hands full with 2,000 murders a year in those days, and junkie prostitutes were never high priority.
Wow.
Yeah, because they weren't only prostitutes, but also because they were addicts and well known addicts, they left
Right.
them be. Joel's ninth victim ironically surfaced before numbers 7 and 8. He was vague on the details in later confessions, unable to recall the woman's name if he had ever known it. He remembered her tattoos. He remembered her tattoos, a pickup in Manhattan, and the way she fought for her life when he began to strangle her. She followed Mary Holman. Sometime that winter, dismembered remains consigned to the last of Joel's oil drums. He dropped her into Brooklyn's Newtown Creek, where she was spotted floating with a current, foot protruding from the rusty barrel. On
Mm.
May 13th, 1992, excuse me, the cocaine in her system prompted detectives to brand her a drug mule, killed accidentally by the rupture of drug-filled condoms in her stomach. It's like that's something out of a movie.
Yeah.
Drug-filled condoms in her body. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a movie.
that is bad.
Police learned their mistake a year later when Joel confessed to her slaying, but number 9 remains anonymous, the last Jane Doe.
Mm.
Joel went back to school in the spring of 1992, taking uncredited classes at SUNY Farmingdale. His landscaping business had folded by then, his landlord clamoring for $700 in overdue rent. As before, Joel cut most of his classes, focused for the most part on repairing his truck. renting video porn, and trolling for prey.
Wow.
Right? He found Iris, a 25-year-old crack addict working First Avenue on Mother's Day weekend. Joe was AWOL from his part-time job at an East Meadow liquor store, looking for trouble. He picked Sanchez up in broad daylight, driving her to a Manhattan housing project down by where Macy's has the fireworks. After
Mm.
strangling Sanchez during sex, he drove her corpse across the Brooklyn Bridge, seeking a drop-off point. The site he chose was an illegal dump, 200 feet off Rockaway Boulevard, within sight of JFK International Airport. Joe wedged the body underneath a rotting mattress, first revealing Sanchez of her or first relieving Sanchez of her watch and other jewelry. She would not be found until June of 1993. When
Mm.
Joel, yeah, so for like a whole year she wasn't found.
Poor thing.
Yeah, when Joel drew detectives a map with, um, so yeah, the only reason why they found her is because he drew a map and where he left her.
Wow.
At age 33, Anna Lopez had three children by three different fathers, but she worked the streets primarily to feed her own cocaine addict. Joe found her on May 25th, 1992, Memorial Day. That's my mom's birthday.
Hmm.
I'm going to say the 25th is my mom's birthday. Working
Oh.
Atlantic Avenue in Queens and retired to a nearby residential street for sex. After strangling Lopez in his car, Joel drove through the night to Brewster in Putnam County and dumped her corpse along the one I-84. A motorist stopped to relieve himself found Lopez the next day. She was missing one earring, later found in Joel's bedroom stash.
Hmm.
See, that's just the thing is like they keep stuff.
A memento, yeah.
They're what's the yeah, sure. Hey Josh.
Hey,
Hey
Josh.
Karma.
Hi.
But yeah, like they keep souvenirs, that's what I want to say. They keep souvenirs.
There we go. Souvenirs.
They keep souvenirs of their killers or their victims.
Yep.
Which obviously in later life it usually ends up making them pay for them keeping that shit because it leads them
Mm-hmm.
right to
Yep.
Violet O'Neill, a 21-year-old prostitute, was the first victim Joel had taken home to East Meadow in nearly a year. He picked her up in the city, strangled her after sex at his mother's house, and dismembered her corpse in the bathtub. Joel consigned her remains to the waters surrounding Manhattan. Her toaster surfaced in the Hudson River, wrapped in black plastic, where her arms and legs were found in a discarded suitcase.
Hmm.
Like, geez. Mary Catherine Williams, 10 years older than O'Neill, had been a high school homecoming queen and college cheerleader in her native North Carolina, North Carolina. Married to a pro football player in 1986 and divorced the following year, she had come to New York in search of acting career, but would wound up doing drugs and living on the streets. Joel had dated Williams twice and enjoyed a great time before the final pickup on October 2nd, 1992. He bought Williams a fix that night and then tried to choke her when she dozed off in his mother's car. She woke up fighting for her life, kicking the gear shift hard enough to snap it off before Joel smothered her.
Hmm.
Right, so she was for real fighting.
Yeah.
Um, Josh, it's been like I was starting them, but I started a little like an hour earlier for other people that do stuff at 9 and whatnot. Because it usually takes me 2 hours roughly. This depends. So I started an hour early.
Yep.
After a struggle to get the car started and moving, Joel drove Williams to Yorktown, a Westchester suburban, where she was found on December 21st, 1992. He kept her credit cards and a wicker handbag filled with costume jewelry. And that's one thing a lot of people don't realize is costume jewelry can be more expensive than regular jewelry can be.
Mm.
Yeah, and I only know that because um Boomy's mom had custom jewelry, and that stuff can be more expensive than real jewelry for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more like it's wanted. People, you get more money. Like you can get it sold. So much, in fact, that the amount would briefly cause detectives to inflate his body count. Williams would fill another nameless pauper's grave until Joel confessed to her murder 6 months after she was found.
Wow.
Yeah.
6 months.
Jenny Sotoro was the last victim of the 1992. A 23-year-old addict whose many trips to detox never turned her life around. Joel picked up her at 11 p.m. on November 16th near the Williamsburg Bridge in Lower Manhattan. Strangled in Joel's pickup truck after sex, she proved to be the toughest one to kill, he said, breaking all 10 fingernails as she clawed Joel's face and neck. Winded from the battle, Joel claimed her bra and panties, earrings, IDs, and drug syringe and trophies for his cash.
Hmm.
Right. I'm like, okay then. He rolled her body into the Harlem River near the spot where Yun Lee had been found 14 months earlier. Discovered the following day, Soto was identified from fingerprints records of her last arrest. Yeah, so since she was already been arrested, the police had her fingerprints.
Right.
Police initially suspected her ex-boyfriend of the murder. Soto's grim fight for life gave Joel pause. Her slaying capped his own friend's acceleration period and left him with embarrassing wounds to explain. Joe would not strike again for 15 weeks, and when he did, he would take better care to hide his tracks. Joel's victim of 1993 was Lee Evans, a 28-year-old who lived with her mother in Brooklyn. Abandoned by the father of her two children, Evans found solace in drugs and worked the streets to keep herself well. Joe found her tricking on February 27th. That's my daughter's birthday.
Mm.
Stopping for sex in the abandoned parking lot. Evans started to undress, then balked, demanding greater privacy. Joel refused, strangling her when she started to cry. Well, I'm gonna say, just so you know, Crystal, he's at Joker's actually been taking this week off. He's been really busy, so he's working
Yeah.
on work and busy. So you don't have to. This week he isn't. I'll let you know if when he does. But yeah, this week he literally is taking a break. He's working on work. Afterward, he drove Evans to the far eastern end of Long Island and buried her in the woods. The only one of his victims raided who raided a shallow grave. Hikers found her on May 9th after they spied a withered hand protruding from the ground. A forensic anthropologist was hired to reconstruct the victim's face, but Joel confessed before the model was finished. Police found Evans' driver's license at his home.
Mm.
Yeah. The next to die, Lauren Marquise, was a 28-year-old addict and prostitute hooked on drugs before she left her native Tennessee for New York City. Joel picked her up on April 2nd, 1993, while she was working 2nd Avenue. They drove to a point near the Manhattan Bridge. Joel clutching her throat without the usual preliminaries, briefly distracted by a man who passed the car walking a dog. He almost let Marquise escape. She fought she fought him, resisting strangulation until he snapped her neck.
Ooh.
Yeah, so she didn't get strangled. He just literally snapped her neck, which kind of probably was better on her part because he just done it over with versus strangling.
Right, I guess.
But ew, geez, to get that
Right.
mad to just snap somebody's neck. Ooh,
Right? Oof.
yeah, no, just some of these people, it just yeah. Joel dumped her body in the Suffolk County Pine Barrens, where she lay undiscovered until his arrest. Besides a broken neck, Marquise had fractured ribs, though Joel claimed he could not remember hitting her. She was identified through DNA testing on August 20th, 1993. Joel's last victim, Tiffany Brashini, was another Southern girl. She hailed from Metairie in Louisiana, and had been drawn to New York. Dang. Drawn to New York by dreams by acting or dancing. Instead, she would end up hooked on heroin, performing for strangers in strip clubs and cars. By the time Joel found her in the pre-dawn hours of June 24th, 1993, she was his second hooker of the night, his fourth within 2 days. Joel picked her up on Allen Street and drove her to the New York Post parking lot, where he strangled her at 5:30 a.m. From there, he drove back to East Meadow, stopping at stores along the way for rope and tarp. While Tiffany lay sprawled in the back seat of his mother's car, by the time he got home, she was swaddled in tarp and concealed in the trunk. Hi, Gypsy Lola.
Hello.
Good to see you. Joel had just arrived home when his mother demanded her car keys and embarked on a 30-minute shopping trip with the corpse still in the trunk.
Ooh.
Joel, yeah, I was going to say, obviously she would have never known. Joel had no time to move the corpse, but his mother never knew. Relieved of his little anxiety attack, Joel moved Tiffany into the cluttered garage, leaving her body in a wheelbarrow. Then, as if in a fugal state, he spent the next 3 days working on his pickup, ignoring the summer heat and pervasive reek of decomposing flesh. Ew.
No.
I can only imagine, yeah, with being hot and a decomposing body in the garage, ew, that has been gross. I can only imagine that smell. Yuck.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I never have to experience that smell.
No, me neither.
He was on his way to dump the corpse near Melville's Republic Airport, some 15 miles north of his house, when troopers Ruan and Spurgeon noted his lack of rear license plate. Hey, Christina.
Hey, Christina.
June 1993. Police finally caught up to Joel when state troopers spotted his pickup truck without license plates on the Southern State Parkway. A high-speed chase ended in Mineola, where he crashed into a utility pole which located directly in front of the courthouse, in which he would eventually stand trial. That's funny.
Wow.
That's kind of funny.
That's ironic.
Yeah, right? Like, how ironic is that?
Mm-hmm.
Troopers detected an odor from the back of the truck. It came from the dead body of Tiffany, 22, the girlfriend
Yeah.
of the. Yeah, so like I can only imagine and those probably, being a cop, that they've smelled that multiple times, so that they
Yeah.
knew what that was right away.
Right.
It's okay, Laura. You all can keep that.
Is she getting snow?
Yes, she said that S word. That's a bad word.
Oh, oh no, Laura's getting snow. Welcome to my world.
Right. I was like, you always, like, I've noticed people, like, always Canada, and then I have other people that are from Wisconsin that I know from. I have people from here that I'm friends with here where I am that are from Wisconsin, and Wisconsin a lot of times always gets snow too before we do.
Mm.
June 28th, 1993 at 8:25 a.m. Homicide detectives began interrogating Joel. They questioned him for 8 hours, but for some reason never recorded the sessions.
Oh
So here
no.
we go. Yep, Joel later claimed that he asked for a lawyer at least 20 times and was always refused. Investigators telling him he couldn't speak with counsel until you give us one more homicide. The written transcript of his interview, presumably reconstructed from memory, suggests that Ruffin was offered a lawyer and declined. He described all 17 murders in the absence of counsel, writing out the names and sketching maps to help police find those victims still missing. Joel was dispassionate, referring to the numbers as events or incidents, listing his victims by number. Mary Catherine Williams was 13. Joel's omission of her name confusing police and some reports into citing Williams as the 18th victim. Their mistake made Joel laugh, explaining that the clumsy cops had counted Williams twice.
Mm.
Here on my birthday, April 11th, 1994. Jury selection of Joel's first trial before Wexner. A panel of 7 men and 5 women was seated 9 days later, with opening arguments begun on April 20th. Fred Klein described Joel as a sexual sadist who relished his victims' suffering. He was caught red-handed, and now he's abusing the concept of mental illness. Lawrence called his client a paranoid schizophrenic who lived in the twilight zone. Okay, let's just use that as an excuse.
Right.
I think that's
Anything that will
I think that's the first thing that they do when it
right.
comes to serial killers or something bad is, they're mentally ill.
Yeah, right. Like, do you not notice that these guys are geniuses?
Right, like, how do they have mental illnesses when they're genius? Right. Like, you're contradicting yourselves. Overwhelmed by violent, irresistible compulsions that took control of his life, Joel, for his part, snored through much of the prosecution's case, a performance Lawrence blamed on allergies to the bologna sandwiches he ate in jail. Okay, sure.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, that's retarded.
Yeah.
Long Island psychiatrist Barbara Kerwin deemed Joel's psychological test results the most pathological she has seen in 20 years of practice. Appearing for the state, Dr. Park dates earlier in prosecuting witness against Arthur Shawcross. Jeffrey Dahmer and John Hinckley found Joel sick but not insane. He knew exactly what he was doing and he did it. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Joel was found guilty of 9 murders in 1994 and sentenced to 203 years to life. he would be eligible for parole in 2197 at the age of 238. Jurors agreed with Dietz, deliberating brief on May 9th before they convicted Joel of murder and reckless endangerment for leading police on the wild car case. So they were getting, because he made them chase after him, that they were trying to get him for that. Wexner gave Joel 25 years to life for murder, plus 2 1/3 to 7 years on the lesser charge. Even before he was sentenced on May 9th, 1994, Joel was transferred to Suffolk County pending trial for the Evans and Marquis slayings. Another suspension hearing failed to quash his confession, whereupon Joel pleaded guilty on both accounts, receiving 2 more consecutive terms of 25 years to life in prison. In November, he pleaded guilty to the Sanchez homicide in Queens and to 3 more counts in Brooklyn. Victims Ortavio Holloman and the Jane Doe killed in 1992. By January 1996, Joel was scheduled to serve at least 183 years for 7 slayings, with 10 counts outstanding. Judge Robert Hanifly, passing sentence in the Sanchez case, told spectators, "It is not in my power to give Mr. Riflin the sentence he deserves. In case there's such a thing as reincarnation, I want you to spend your second life in prison." Said, damn. In 2002, New York Supreme Court rejected Joel's appeal for his convictions for the murder of 9 women. His lawyer argued that his statements to police at the time of his arrest should be suppressed because he had not been informed of his rights. If that would have happened now, guarantee you a lot of that would have been thrown out, because the cops not having doing what they did with him with the confession like that, they would have, if he would have went back on it like he did in 2002, it would have been thrown out, and then serial killer been on the loose.
Yep.
Because they were being dumb.
Yep. I love how your cat decides to now join in.
Okay, then. Where is my mods? Get rid of that person.
Uh-oh.
Joel arrived at Attica State Prison in February 1996, sporting a black eye from his first assault by fellow inmates while confined on Rikers Island. Prison was an exaggerated replay of high school. Well, what comes around goes around. With constant threats and taunts from other convicts. Although never housed in the prison's general population, Joel created enough disruption by his mere presence that administrators moved him into IPC, involuntary protective custody, where prisoners spend 23 hours a day confined to their Spartan cells, all because he was being beaten. Aside from books and magazines, no more than 10 per isolated cell, Joel had lawsuits to amuse himself. The Orvant family sued him first on a civil court for Lorraine's wrongful death, and Joel responded with a snide handwritten brief branding his victim as AIDS carrier who may be responsible for the eventual deaths of numerous individuals, crediting her relatives for shared responsibility in what might have been. Next. So yeah, he was trying to get off of, I don't care what you try to do with that one, because she had AIDS and she could have spread it to others. because obviously if she was out having sex, she was definitely probably spreading it. But that's still not an excuse. I mean, that's still not right.
No.
Next, in November 1997, it was Joel's turn to sue prison officials and the New York Daily News for branding him HIV positive. So that's why he was being beaten in prison, because he was HIV positive and they didn't want nothing to do with him.
Mm.
According to Joel's complaint, the reports prompt a series of inmate assaults that he suffered in January and February 1996. See?
Mhm.
Leading to his confinement in a solitary cell for personal safety. Joel now is serving 203 years to life in Clinton, New York Correctional Facility. He will be eligible for parole in 2197. So yeah, he's not getting out. Hey
Mm.
Beth.
That's, yeah.
I know that's the baby. It's whining now. That
Oh.
that's baby Luna. And she had said she's a whiner. Luna, meow, Luna, Luna, meow meow, Luna. Yeah,
Oh.
what's the matter, baby? Yeah, yeah.
That's so cute.
I said she really is the baby of the bunch. Our older cats are 4, and she literally is only going to be 2 next year. What baby? Uh, oh, she said Beth said she thought it was her kittens at first. That's cute.
No.
So no kittens, it's my kitty. Let me see and put this new guy up here. This new guy that I'm doing is called the Butcher of Kansas City.
Mm.
His name is Robert Burdella. This dude don't look very nice either. Just ew. Not very many good pictures of him though. That's for damn sure.
Mm.
Oh yeah, me too, Laura. That's something we have. We love animals. This guy was born January 30th, 1949, and died October 8th, 1992.
Mm.
Yes. Okay then.
Huh?
Oh, just the damn trolls. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah, I
If I'm
know.
boring, stop watching me. Nobody told you to watch me.
Mhm.
His name is Robert Andrew Burdella Jr. Yeah, exactly, Laura. He's definitely creepy. He's definitely the creepo type. Let me tell you. He grew up in midwestern town similar to Kansas City. He grew up in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. What a name! Where he was born is a quiet suburban of Cleveland. Robert was a quiet, aloof boy who was merely a teenager when his father died suddenly of a heart attack at the age of 39.
Oh.
So yeah, so he was young when his dad died of a heart attack. I mean, 39, that's pretty young to die of a heart attack.
Mhm.
With a Catholic upbringing, Robert turned to his church for understanding and sympathy relating to the death of his father. The church brought no resolution to his mix of emotions. He would later claim that this led to his interest in diverse religions and cult groups, including Satanism.
Hmm.
So, literally, basically, because they didn't give him any solace with what he was doing, he ended up looking into occult shit, which happens when your own religious people don't help you through
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
After high school, he went on to art school. His interest in art is what led a deranged Robert to Kansas City in 1967. His taste in art varied, but was always considered a bit strange. He collected oddities and facts, which led him to opening the shop in Westport. Yeah, he ended up being in oddities store.
Hmm.
Westport is a district in Kansas City known for its nightlife and different types of shops. Retailers specializing in interesting types of curios not found throughout the rest of the city. Robert's shop was located in a Westport flea market, which houses vendors peddling wares in small cubicles, as well as a restaurant known for its unique hamburgers.
Mhm.
The Westport Flea Market is located on Westport Road at the intersection with Broadway, the outskirts of the 2 mile strip as known as Oldie Westport.
Hmm.
Various comedy and dance clubs are also in the area, which was a hangout for young suburbians. He was enrolled in the Kansas City Art Institute from 1967 to 1969. During this time, he was convicted but received a suspended license for selling acetaminophen, which is the stimulants to speed up your body. Of course, I
Yeah.
think we've all. I think at one point, I think majority of us have done that kind of shit in school. Some
Yep.
kind of like pill that uh, made you just me. I
Yeah. Well,
remember taking.
I
I
was
think.
ADHD, so didn't work on me.
Yeah, I think mine. I think a lot of my we had 350 magnums or what's the other pill? It was they you take them and then you just you couldn't sit still. Like literally, I was tapping my foot.
Hmm.
He was later arrested for possession of LSD and marijuana, but the charges were dropped for the lack of evidence. In 1969, he bought the house at 4315 Charlotte, which would be the scene of the crimes. He worked as a chef and eventually opened Bob's Bazaar.
Bizarre, bizarre.
Bazaar. Yeah, it's spelled Bazaar and then Bizarre.
No.
Yeah, so it's he for real was yeah for real made Bazaar. The
Hmm.
way he was with his shit, I guess, would make sense. By his own admission, 39-year-old Robert Bordello was a strange character. The owner of Bob's Bazaar in Kansas City, Missouri, Robert carried business cards that advertised that he had poison in his head around.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. He had carried cards that said he had poison in his head. Yeah, go figure. Around the house, he showed a milder side, helping his Hyde Park neighbors establish a local community crime watch program. His
But
strange, yeah, I know, right? But you know that in a way, like eventually comes to his benefit because he was able to watch the young guys and boys come in the neighborhood.
yep.
His strange behavior on the job was written off as advertising hype.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, just block him, Ladon. Choo choo. Da-da. Oh yeah, I forgot. There you go.
Hmm?
Oh, I was making Ladon safe so that nobody
Oh,
else did anything because I'm then making her blue so that she was safe. I forgot she wasn't blue yet.
mm.
Nah, Dwayne's always doing something. Let me tell you, that little boy.
Mm.
Yeah, of course, Ladon. We're going to his reason for Crafton, which I got a whole thing just on this one incident. Literally got him busted.
Wow.
Yeah, Chris Bryson hustled as a chicken hawk or male prostitute to support his family. And the guy that I'm talking about is actually a victim. So I'm let you all know this guy
Okay.
is a victim that I'm going through to tell his story of how he escaped from being out from under Robert.
Oh.
Yeah. Um, but of course, he was being a male prostitute because he was trying to support his family. Chris,
Oh.
yeah, see, and that's what I've said before too. Sometimes even women have done it, and that they're supporting family.
Mhm.
Chris encountered Robert late one evening around the old Greyhound bus station downtown Kansas City. Chris was attempting to hustle Robert, but it seemed it was actually Robert was actually hustling Chris. The two men met some 5 days before the Easter weekend, each with a different idea in mind as to the way the evening would unfold. Robert suggested they go to his house. Young Chris was pleased with the idea as he was used to cheap motel rooms in the back seats of cars to eke out his meager living. The two spent some time at Robert's house on Charlotte Road getting to know each other. Later that evening, Robert suggested they go upstairs. There were vicious dogs on the floor they were on, Robert explained, whereas the room upstairs housed a television and a comfortable furniture. Climbing up the stairs, Robert overtook Chris with a swift blow to the back of the head with a blunt instrument. Chris went down quickly, unconscious. Robert immediately took advantage of the situation and began shooting pictures of his victim with a Polaroid camera. Yes, Robert had a very thing of taking pictures of his victims nude and in positions.
Mhm.
This was a great advantage of the situation. Yeah, this was a great fascination for Robert. He would also prove to be irrefutable evidence for this evidence of guilt. He was immaculate in his methodical documentation of events and with each of his victims. Over the next 4 days, Chris would be subjected to many different kinds of tortures at the hands of Robert. He beat Chris with an iron club and injected various. Uh, and subjected to many different. Okay, I just said it. Injected various parts of his body with animal tranquilizers and antibiotics.
Ew.
Yeah, so he was really being tortured. Robert shocked Chris with an electrical current by attaching alligator clips to different parts of his body, including his testicles.
Ow.
Robert sodomized Chris, sometimes demanding sex with him incapacitated. In, yeah, so for incapable, yeah, he wasn't. He couldn't do nothing about it, so he was captured. So, but he made him have sex with him like 2 or 3 times a day. During
Mm.
this course of events, Robert held Chris captive with bondage and drugs. Chris was tied with several ropes to the iron headboard of the bed. His limbs outstretched, Robert showed Chris pictures of men who had been in his position before and would not cooperate. He told Chris they were now dead and the dogs had eaten them. This was not far from the truth, and Chris believed every word Robert said to him. He was fearful for his life, and with good cause.
Damn.
Hi, Gypsy.
Hello.
Okay, then. Hold on a second, yo.
Oh, okay.
There's something in chat, and I'm getting rid of just because it's.
Oh, what? What? Hmm?
Well, obviously, but. Okay, let me get up here. Chirp, chirp.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure this shit out. Just gonna be like, whatever I'm doing. I'm gonna have to, like. I did not know what the hell. I'm confused. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it alone because I don't know.
Oh, what Don said you.
Yeah, and I don't know which one the thing is because I was trying to figure it out and I don't know.
Thank you, Dragon. Oh, no, no. F.
Yeah. Early on in Chris's captivity, he screamed and he was raped and injected with Drano into his throat next to his windpipe, telling him if he continued to call out, he would lose his voice entirely. Robert jabbed swabs into Chris's eyes soaked with chemicals, which could have been alcohol. Chris didn't think he would ever see his family again, but he continually thought of ways to get out of the situation alive. Robert would come and go quickly, leaving him drugged and confused. On the day of his brave escape, Chris didn't know for sure that Robert was gone. In fact, Robert had gone out to some errands. Chris had been cooperating with Robert and therefore was allowed to hold the remote control for the television between his knees with his hands while still bound with ropes. He lowered the volume on the television set to determine Robert's whereabouts. Also, his hands were tied in a different fashion than usual, so he quickly learned how to loosen the ropes. Another treat Chris received from his corporation earlier in the day was a cigarette. Robert tossed the matches by the bed. This combination of events allowed Chris to make his quick getaway. After freeing a hand from the ropes, he used the matches to burn the rest of the ropes. His mind was racing with thoughts about what Robert would do if he were captured while trying to escape. Naked with the ropes dangling, he dashed to the window, worrying that if it might be locked or nailed closed. It was not, and he quickly broke the glass. Looking down from the second story, he realized he had no choice but to jump from that height. He injured his foot upon landing, but ignored the pain as he ran out into the street to locate the nearest neighbor. A neighbor of Robert stepped out to find a naked Chris crouching on his porch, wearing only a dog collar buckled around his neck as he blurted out a tale of sexual abuse that sent Robert's neighbor racing for the telephone to call the police. Shortly after, police questioned Chris as he sat on the neighbor's stoop with red, swollen eyes and crimson marks on his wrists and ankles. Robert showed up at his home. Detectives picked up Robert and searched his home for evidence. In doing so, they opened up a grim Pandora's box of horror. In the house, police discovered some 200 photographs of naked men.
Oh
The
my God.
subject, yeah, so you know he was doing it shit. The subjects bound and clearly suffering from cruel abuse. Torture devices were always also seized in the raid, along with a pair of human skulls, occult literature, and satanic ritual robe.
Hmm.
That weekend, deputies unearthed bone fragments and another human head in Robert's yard.
Wow.
Robert was arrested within minutes of Chris's complaints, as it was obvious by looking at him. Chris was telling at least a partial truth. Detectives had 20 hours, according to the laws of Missouri, to determine what charges they were going to hold him on. This would prove to be no easy task. Detectives with the Kansas City Police Department spent the entire Easter weekend cataloging items found in Robert's home. It became rapidly apparent he was a collector or pack rat. His house contained things like vertebrae and skulls. It was not easy to determine at a glance if these items were authentic. There were reports of other missing young men, of course, and the goal was to determine if any of them met with foul play at the hands of Robert. The police spent the remainder of their time that weekend obtaining search warrants and warrants to detain Robert in custody. However, after sorting through the copious file copious piles of papers, pictures, and other clutter and dog feces in Robert's home, the detectives didn't have time left to do much else. Robert positively identified Chris in photos. The photos detectives showed him while he was in the hospital. Robert was originally charged with forced sodomy and charges relating to the torture Chris endured. Robert spent his life involved with young males in one way or another. He volunteered for youth organizations, Neighborhood Crime Watch, and various other communities. He left young men with him and employed them to work in his store. He was involved with the Neighborhood Crime Watch and used that to snatch young men,
Wow.
said one of Robert's neighbors who prefers to remain anonymous. After locating questionable items in Robert's home, such as the skull and other bones, the police in an area in the basement's dirt floor that by dimensions resembled a grave.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I can't figure out how to do at the moment finding Ladon.
Um.
Ladon, are you blue now? Police interviewed neighbors, which led to police search the property. In the backyard were freshly dug places. A worst-case scenario seemed to be unfolding. On Easter weekend, it would prove to be difficult to locate someone who would operate and had access to earth-moving equipment. As Robert was currently being held by warrants previously issued stemming from Chris's comments, time was on their side of the Kansas City Police Department. The media was alerted to the strange turn of events and soon began to swarm the house on Charlotte Street, complicating the entire investigation. Of course it did, because they're assholes and can't stay away.
Mm-hmm.
Not evacuation, it's the vacation of the backyard began as hordes of reporters were on site. Almost immediately, detectives spotted a human skull with hair and soft tissue still intact. The work continued into Monday. Strange items were found, but unrelated to any human deaths. Bones from animals, jars with bird feathers, elect. The discovery lent credence to the idea that perhaps Burdella was into Satanism or some kind of occult religion. It seemed that every new discovery created more questions for the detectives rather than answers. In the meantime, detectives also continued to work inside the house, impeded by the amount of clutter and piles of dog feces. Linoleum and spray chemical used by detectives to highlight blood was applied to many areas in the basement with positive results. People began contacting the police department with concerns for loved ones that were missing and were known to have spent time with Robert. Witnesses stepped forward to discuss their encounters with Robert. Some claimed to have seen Robert injecting people with drugs, primarily the tranquilizers he used for his dogs. Others claimed to be victims of these assaults. The intangible evidence was overwhelming, leading detectives to realize a death, if not more than one, had occurred on Robert's property. But there was no body. It was most difficult to convince a judge to seriously consider murder charges when there was no corpse to prove a murder occurred. Copious documents provided by Robert led detectives to begin contacting people whose names were listed in the diaries he kept of the tortured administered to each victim. However, identifying the faces contained within the pictures proved to be difficult in some cases. Some pictures were of Robert sodomizing his victims, while where no face was visible, not even Robert's. Police began deciphering the code of shorthand Burdella utilized while logging the events taking place with his victims. It was written in a rather elementary and crude style. For example, police were able to rapidly determine BF represented anal penetration with his penis, while finger, the F word, stood for his finger. There were dozens of references to F in various fashions, such as carrot F or cucumber F, which meant Burdella inserted cucumbers or carrots into the rectum.
Mm.
Okay, this dude was sick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. Well, thank you. Thanks, Josh. The logs contain other equally disturbing information regarding the frequency and dosage of medication administered to the victims and where he injected them. Some names were listed frequently, so the detectives began to search for these individuals. They quickly determined that the information contained in the logs directly corresponded to dates and times of young men who were missing. The people of Kansas City began to realize that this would be a huge case and that there was a serial killer in their midst. On April 4th, 1988, Robert was arraigned on 7 counts of sodomy, 1 count of felonious restraint, and 1 count of first-degree assault. Bail was initially set at $500,000, revoked the next day when officers testified that one of the men, Robert, in Robert's photographer's up truced up and was hanging by his heels, appeared to be dead. While excavation continued on Burdella's property and prospectors contemplated murder charges, homicide investigators started checking out their list of missing persons dating back to 1984. A bargain guilty plea on one of murder consigned Robert to prison for life, but authorities suspected at least 7 other deaths. But just because that one picture of the guy that he had hung actually got him for murder. December 19th, 1980, Robert pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in the death of Robert Sheldon and 4 counts of second-degree murder involving additional male victims. October 8th, 1992, he only served 4 years of his time in the state penitentiary in Jefferson County, MO, before he died of a heart attack at the age of 43. So he suffered the same fate as his father. He was literally only years older than his father, who died of a heart attack at 39. He was 43.
Oh, wow.
So he literally, like I said, he only served 4 years before he ended up having a heart attack and dying. So he literally suffered the same fate as his father. Yeah, exactly, Gracias. Like, it's just, some of these people are just like, what in the hell? My last one is a doctor. And it is a thing, because guy is born in January 24th, 1899. And he was a doctor. And because it was and back in those days, they didn't have a lot of rules about being a doctor and keeping track of this and that. Yeah, he didn't get charged for nothing. He didn't get charged for.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, this man did not get. He got like he was. It's just weird. Yeah, but he didn't get charged with. Yeah, right. Well, at least we're not paying for it. But yeah, there's still like the other guy. We're still paying for him being incarcerated. The people are paying for him being incarcerated. But like it is one of those people don't what do I want to say? Incarcerated, and it's the life taking another life. Is what it is. Bella, quit it. Yeah, well, he was a psycho doctor. He was literally, as you'll find out, that he just administering drugs, and then his quote was at one point is, "I'm not doing it for the money." Yeah, okay, that's why you got lots of money for doing different things. Get down, Wisteria.
No.
He was born into a highly religious family of Plymouth Brethren in Austria Protestant sector, remaining a member for his entire life. His father, Samuel, was a preacher in the local congregation, though by profession he was a watchmaker. He also had a passionate interest in cars, which he would pass on to John. John was the firstborn son born in 1899, followed by his brother William Samuel in 1909 or 1903. 1914, Adam's father died of a stroke, and then 4 years later, his brother died in the influenza pandemic. Yeah, so it's literally just him and his mom. Adams matriculated at Queen's University, Belfast, at the age of 17. There he was seen as a plotter and lone wolf by his lecturers, and due partially to an illness, probably tuberculosis, which caused him to miss a year of studies. He graduated in 1921, having failed to qualify for honors. Right?
Mm.
1921, Arthur Short offered him a position as an assistant houseman at Bristol Royal Infirmary. Adams spent a year there but didn't prove success. On Short's advice, Adams applied for a job as a general practitioner at Christian Practice in Eastbourne. Adams arrived in 1922. He arrived in Eastbourne, where he lived with his mother and cousin. 1929, he borrowed $2,000 from a patient, William Mahod. He bought a house in Trinity Trees, a select address. Adams would frequently invite himself to the Mahods' residence at mealtime, even bringing his mother and cousin. He also began charging items to their accounts at local stores without their permission. See, that's kind of crappy because, like in those days, you could charge it to somebody's account and it wouldn't be questioned.
Right.
Mrs. Maho would later describe Adams to the police as a real scrounge. When Mr. Mahood finally died in 1949 at the age of 89, Adams visited his wife uninvited and took a 22-karat gold pin from her bedroom dressing table, saying he wanted something of her husband's. He never returned again after stealing that, of course. By the mid-1930s, gossip regarding Adams' unconventional methods had started. In 1935, he in fact was the year Adams inherited $7,385 from a patient. In that time, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, there was.
From a Matilda, whose estate was amounted at $11,465 at the time. And the only thing is, because it's in euros, it was like with euros and our money, it's literally the same amount, but add like $35 to it.
Mm.
So like the 11,465, the 65 would add another $35 to it. That's why I just left it as.
Oh, okay.
That's how different our thing is. Like euro dollars to US dollars literally is same amount, but add like $35 to it.
Okay.
Huh?
Oh, I was just figuring that out in my head.
Oh, yeah. The will was contested by her relatives, but upheld in court. Adams stayed in Eastbourne throughout the war, though he was not deemed desirable by other doctors to be selected for a pool system where GPs would treat the patients of colleagues who had been called up. In 1941, he gained a diploma in aesthetics, which is he knew how to put patients out.
Right.
In 1943, his mother died. July 20th, 1956. Oh, my mom was like a month old. Okay, she was 2 months old. After years, I know that's a long time ago. I'm like, holy crap. After years of rumors and Adams having been mentioned in at least 132 wills. Okay, you can't tell me he wasn't doing something when he was in his patients of 132 wills of his patients.
That is insane.
Yeah, right? So that just tells you, like, he for real had influence on doing whatever. Eastbourne police received an anonymous call about a death. It was Leslie Henson, the music hall performer whose friend Gertrude Hollett had died unexpectedly while being treated by Adams. On August 24th that year, Hennon started to encounter problems. The British Medical Association sent a letter to all doctors in Eastbourne reminding them of patient confidentiality if interviewed by police. Hennon wasn't impressed. The Attorney General, Sir Reginald Manningham Biller, who prosecuted all cases of poisoning, wrote to the BMA security, Dr. McRae, to try to get him to remove the ban. The impasse continued for months until November 8th. Mayhem Biller met with Dr. McRae, amazingly passed him Hammond's 187-page report on Adams to convince him on the importance of the case. Dr. McRae took the report to the president of the BMA and returned it the next day. In all likelihood, he also copied and passed it on to the defense. Dr. McRae then contacted doctors in Eastbourne himself and told the DPP that they had no information which would justify the charges against Adams. Only 2 eastbound doctors ever gave evidence to the police.
Wow.
Yeah, so back in the day, it was just like, okay, this is a doctor. You can't accuse a doctor for this. But that don't seem right. A doctor gets to be in a will, like, well, that's never heard of. Like, come on now.
Right? That many times?
Yeah. And then in November, they had a search warrant to look for him, the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1951. Adams was surprised. He told them, "You will find none here," he said. Hannon then asked Adams for a dangerous drugs register, the record of those ordered and used. Adams responded with, "I don't know what you mean. I don't keep a record." He hadn't, in fact, kept record since 1949.
Wow.
So he stopped keeping record of what he was using.
Mm-hmm.
During the search, Adam opened a cupboard and slipped something into his pocket. Hannon and Pugh challenged him. Adams showed them 2 bottles of morphine. One, he said, was for Annie Sharpie and a patient, a major witness who had died 9 days earlier under his care. The other was for Mr. Soden, who died on September 17th, 1956. The pharmacy records showed that Soden had never been prescribed morphine. So he was hiding it. Right there he was hiding it. Adams was later, after his main trial in 1957, convinced of constructing the search concealing bottles for failing to keep a DD register. Later in search, Adams also told Henham easing the passing of a dying person isn't all that wicked. She, Morel, wanted to die. That can't be murder. It is impossible to accuse a doctor. So he was arrogant on top of. In December of 1956, Adams...
I thought I exited out, but I didn't.
Adams was arrested, by which he had become the richest doctor in England, paying 1,100 suffix in 1955 alone. So he was one of the most highly paid doctors at the time.
Wow.
When told of the charges, he said, "Murder? Murder? Can you prove it was murder? I didn't think you could prove it was murder. She was dying in any case."
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, that's when, like, he's the arrogance. He apparently, the doctor, the arrogance.
Yeah. I'm a doctor. How dare
he was
you?
being taken away from Kent Lodge, he gripped his receptionist's hand and told her, "I will see you in heaven."
Oh God.
Right. Hannon collected enough evidence in at least 4 of the cases to prosecution to be warranted, regarding Claire Miller, Julie Bradnam, Edith Morel, and Gertrude Hullett. Of these, Adams was charged with only 2 counts of murder, which was the Edith and Gertrude, because Gertrude was one of the most wealthiest people there where that was. On January 14th, 1957, the committal hearing took place in Lewes on the chairman of magistrates was Sir Roland Gwynn, but he stepped down to his close friendship with Adams. So it was what do you want to call that?
Injury. Or
I forget
no.
how you think, because when you're
Mistrial.
close to somebody, you have to step down.
Yeah. Conflict of interest.
Huh?
Conflict of interest.
Yes, that's it. The hearing concluded on January 24th, and after a 5-minute deliberation, Adams was committed for trial. March 18th, the same year, the trial started on at the Old Bailey. 3 days later, a new Homicide Act came into effect. Murder by poison became a non-capital offense. Adams would still face the death penalty if convicted. One of Adams' patients was Edith Alice Morrell, a wealthy widow who had suffered from a brain thrombosis, a stroke, and had been partially paralyzed and had severe arthritis. In 1949, she had moved to Eastbourne and came under Adams' supervision. He supplied her with doses of heroin and morphine to ease her symptoms of cerebral irritation and to help her sleep. Yeah, and he took advantage of that, of course.
Right.
During the trial, it was established that in the 10 months before her death, Adams had given Edith morphine and heroin. Between between the 7th and 12th of November of 1949, she was given I would do it. She was 2,624 milligrams of morphine and 2,527 milligrams of heroin, according to prescriptions. This would be more than likely have been. This would have been more than likely have been enough to kill her in itself, despite any tolerance developed between the 375 to 3,000 for morphine, which was based on somebody who is like roughly 165 pounds. So it was still more than enough to kill somebody of drug overdose, literally. Edith had made several wills, and some of them Adams received large amounts of sums or furniture. In others, he was not mentioned. August 24th, 1949, she added a condolencio saying that Adams would receive nothing. 3 months later, aged 81, November 13th, 1950, she died from a stroke, according to Adams. Despite Mule's clause, the doctors received a small amount from Edith of her $78,000 estate. A Rolls Royce silver ghost valued at $1,500. That doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like a lot, but in those days it was.
It was, yeah.
They're way value way more than that now.
Oh God, yeah.
And an antique chest containing silver cutlery was worth $276, which now would have been like thousands of dollars, versus the $276, which Adams had often told her he admired. After her death, he took away an infrared lamp she bought herself. It was later found in his surgery room, so yeah. The day of her death, Adams arranged for her to be cremated. On the cremation form, he stated that, as far as I am aware, he had no pecuniary interest in the death of the deceased. This falsehood, therefore, avoided the necessity of a post-mortem. That same evening, Edith's ashes were scattered over the English Canal. Hi, Mrs. Soto.
Hi, Mrs. Solo.
Yeah, right. Like it's so weird. Like these people, but even back in the day, like they weren't stupid, because some doctors do it. It's, you use it as their advantage. Like I came across, like, one of my first, when I started doing this, one of the first people that had come across was another doctor that took advantage of his position.
Right.
It is. I've come across. There's women that's been nurses that's
Oh
taken
yeah.
that as into their they want to become the hero um, of
Mm-hmm.
of it all. Say I can go. She's not until I'm almost 2 hours, but that's okay because she isn't live anyway. She can go live after I'm done if she wants to.
Oh,
Dragon, if you're on here, we can wait. And when I'm finished, we can just go to yours instead of waiting a whole nother hour.
yeah.
July of 56, Gertrude, another of Adam's patients, died at age 50. She had been depressed since the death of her husband 4 months earlier. She had been prescribed large amounts of sodium barbiturate. It is. Had no idea what it was either, so I put it. It's an hypnotic or a sedative, which
Oh.
knocks you out when you need it. And she was also given another sodium from barbitone, and it's also to control seizures. Or at the time
Oh.
for her, he was probably giving it to her for or her anxiety. She told Adams on frequent occasions of her wish to kill herself. Um,
Oh, great. So that gives you permission,
yeah, that's what I'm like. That's what I was getting from that. So he took it as permission to.
right?
On the 19th, most likely, she took an overdose and was found the next morning in a coma. Adams was unavailable, and Dr. Harris attended, with Adams arriving late in the day. Not once during their discussion did Adam mention her depression or her medication that he had put her on. They
Hmm.
decided a cerebral hemorrhage was most likely due to partially to contracted pupils. This, however, is also a system of the morphine and the um, barbiturate poisoning that had given her.
Hmm.
Um, Moreover, her breathing was shallow, typical of an overdose-induced coma. A cerebral hemorrhage is usually accompanied by heavy breathing. Doctors is usually accompanied. Yeah, her
Hmm.
breathing was shallow and not a heavy breathing, which what it should have been.
Right.
Um, Yeah, Dr. Thing pathologist was called to take a spinal fluid sample on the 20th. He immediately asked if her stomach contents should be examined in her case of narcotic poisoning. And of course, Adams and both the district said no, they didn't want it. The results of a urine sample taken showed that she had twice the fatal dose. Yeah, she had twice the fatal dose of the medication that of the poisoning that he had given her, basically. The coroner said the poisoning should have been considered earlier. In fact, on the 22nd, Adams admittedly the possibility of barbiturate, the poisoning that he gave her,
Mm-hmm.
gave Gertrude a newly developed antidote, 10 cc's of migaderone. Um, but he was told to give her this, and I mean, there was all kinds of like stuff that was mere oxygen. He was questioning of why didn't you give her oxygen? Why weren't you doing this? And why don't you do this? And the nurses were contradicting everything he said. Like the nurse said she was a cyanose, which means she was blue, but he responded there didn't seem to be any necessity. I'm like, okay then.
Right.
She wasn't sweating. She had lost no fluids. The new nurse, however, said that she was sweating profusely and until her death. So he just was contradicting everything
Mm-hmm.
that the nurse was saying. Then he was saying no, she wasn't, no, she wasn't.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. 17 patients were listed, 15 had recovered, and 6 of those had been in the first half of 1956. Before Gertrude's death, all but one had been put on a drip, and several had taken a higher dosage than Gertrude. See, you knew that he was doing poisoning. That was his MO. He just, poison was been his thing.
Yep.
Most importantly, however, Adams had worked at this hospital for 1 day a week since 1941, when he had qualified as an anesthesiast. It was presumed by the DPP, therefore, that he must have heard of these cases and their successful treatment. Why did an overdose not cross his mind, and why did he provide delayed and inaccurate treatment? It is also worth noting that Adams called the pathologist to make an appointment for the post-mortem before Gertrude died. So even before she died, he was calling the thing to say, hey, she's dead. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So he really was just, that arrogant. The pathologist was shocked and accused Adams of extreme incompetence. Obviously. Gertrude left her 1954 Rolls-Royce Silver Dawn, worth at least $2,900, to Adams in a will dated July 14th. Adams changed the car registration on December 8th and then resold it on the 13th. He was arrested on the 20th. Adams had also received a check for $1,000 before Gertrude died or he got it from her on the 17th, 6 days before her death. He took it to the bank the next day and was told it would clear by the 21st. He then asked for it to be specially cleared to credit his account the next day. This was an unusual request since special clearance was only given in cases where checks might bounce, and Gertrude was one of the richest residents in Eastbound. The check was lost during the investigation. So he was being dumb there because, like, it only is if it bounces. And in her being rich, why would he do that?
Right.
So, like, it
Why
just
wouldn't
said, yeah, he wanted that money right away for something. Adams was first tried for the murder of Mrs. Morrell. Defense counsel Sir Frederick Jeffrey, QC, a specialist in real estate and divorce cases, a relative stranger in criminal court who was defending his first murder trial, convinced the juror that there was no evidence that a murder had been committed, much less a murder committed by Adams. He emphasized that the indictment was based mainly on testimonies from nurses who tended Mrs. Morrell. None of the witnesses' evidence matched the others. Also, only one of the prosecution's 2 nurses who tended Mrs. Morrell prepared to say the murder had definitely been committed. So nobody confessed, like nobody knew for a fact that it was committed. He demonstrated that none of the witnesses were reliable. Adams didn't appear in the witness box. The prosecution wasn't allowed to produce evidence from Gertrude's case. Therefore, a nurse who worked with Adams in caring for Gertrude couldn't be called upon to repeat her words to Adams in July of 1956. You do realize, doctor, that you have killed her. Adams was found not guilty on April 15th, 1957. Yeah. Like I said, he literally got away with. This is considered evidence that Strel was interviewed by outside forces. There was nurses' notebooks, these vital pieces of evidence. There was 8 books of records made by nurses who had worked under Adams, were recorded in pre-trial police records, but disappeared before the trial started. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was only present with copy defense the second day of trial. These books were then used by fully prepared defense to counter evidence given against Adams by the nurses, who had originally written the notes. 6 years after the event, the notes could be said to be more reliable than the nurses' own memories. The defense was not required to explain the books came into their hand, how to explain how the books came into their hands. The Attorney General made no effort to pursue this matter despite his nickname of Sir Bullying Manner. As Lord Devon later said of him, he could be downright rude, but he didn't shout or bluster. Yet his disagreeableness was so pervasive, his persistence so interminable that obstructions he managed to far flung. So basically, um, like what that said was, not only did the good people have it, the defense team that when they were going against them actually had these records too. So it wasn't just whatever. So whoever did the records actually gave a record to everybody, which is a no-no. But like
Well, no.
like the practices are way different now compared to
Oh,
like
yeah.
because of people like him. Shit has changed. Like there's like the other doctor that I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
There's new laws and whatever when it comes to the patients because of people like them because of the shit that they did.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, it's sad that these things have to occur before laws are changed or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It is. It's. I mean, we all know and witness. Most of us know John Walsh's story, and
Mm-hmm.
that was never a thing until John Walsh's kid got beheaded and kidnapped. It's sad that it takes things to happen to put other things in place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yep, and the BPA, so number 15, 1906. The Attorney General handed a copy of Hammond's 187-page report to the President of British Medical Association, effectively the doctors' trading union in Britain. This document, the prosecution's most valuable document, was in the hands of the defense, and situation that led the Home Security, Gwendolyn Lord George, to reprimand Manning Buller, stating that such documents should not even be shown to Parliament or individual members. I can only hope that no harm will result, since the disclosure of this document is likely to cause me considerable embarrassment.
Oh,
The
poor
Noel
you.
Presque. After the not guilty verdict on the count of murdering Mrs. Noel, the Attorney General had the power to prosecute Adams for the death of Mrs. Hewitt. However, he chose to offer no evidence by entering a Noel Presque, which that's the name of the thing that came about in this case.
Oh.
Historically, a power only used on compassionate grounds when the accused is too ill to be tried. Right? This wasn't the case with Adams. Lord Justice Patrick Devon, the preceding judge in the post-trial book, even went as far as terming this as an abuse of power. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
In the aftermath of the trial, Adams resigned from the National Health Service and was convicted later that year on 8 counts of forging prescription, 4 counts of making false statements on cremation forms, and 3 offenses under the Dangerous Drug Acts of 1951. He was fined $2,400 plus. November 22nd, 1957, he was struck he was struck off the medical register, and so he was taken off of there.
Mm-hmm.
Adams sold his story to the Daily Express for like 10 grand, and successfully sued several newspapers for libel. He stayed in Eastbound despite the common belief that he had murdered at least 21 people. It is worth noting that this belief wasn't generally shared by his friends and patients. One exception was Roland Gwynn, who distanced himself considerably from Adams after the trial. Adams was reinstated as a general practitioner in 1961. Are you freaking kidding me?
Wow.
After two failed applications that he was allowed to resume his medical career suggests his professional colleagues thought he thought him nearly guilty of murder, nor grossly negligent or incompetent of his work. When he applied for a visa to America in August 1962, however, he was refused because of his dangerous drug convictions. So he
Yeah.
wasn't allowed to come over here because because of not filing the dangerous drug act, which
Mm-hmm.
thank God for us, he could come over here.
Right.
Just
Right.
how many more deaths he would have, how many more people
Mm-hmm.
he would have committed,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah. Adams later became president and honorary medical officer of the British Clay Pigeon Shooting Association. I know, right? And then Adams slipped and fractured his hip.
Oh,
Apparently,
wah.
after all this too, he was in the war and ended up
Wah.
serving in the one of the wars too. So
Mm.
Adams slipped and fractured his hip on June 30th, 1983, while shooting in battle in East Sioux. He was taken to Eastbound Hospital, but developed a chest infection and died on July 4th and left ventricular failure. He left estates of he almost had 500 grand in his savings
Wow.
to land. Yeah. So he basically lived his life after killing those people he got away with.
Yeah, he got away with it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's some of these people are just some of the shit they let people get away with.
Especially back then.
Yeah, in those days it was a lot easier just to, and there wasn't all the rules that they have for medical and doctors
Mm-hmm.
nowadays either. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's so many
Mm-hmm.
rules that kind of shit can't happen anymore.
Mm-mm.
Doctors just can't write on papers without having a witness right there when they're doing it. That's another thing. They can't just write up these things and not have somebody there doing the witness, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Karen, he was sick.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people are though. It's just he was using where he was using his power, and like the
Mm-hmm.
said, he was abusing power, and there is people that's how they sometimes get away with or they use their power. Like, look, it's police officers. I am
Mm-hmm.
a story that I only bring because Stephen King. That's Rose Matter. A cop uses his power to abuse his wife,
Right.
but in real life, we all know there's a cop out there somewhere who's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It is just that thing. People use and abuse their power to do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yep. That's the sad truth about this world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Too many people just it's yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, excuse me.
I want to say, okay, why is Mrs. Solo not a member? Now she is, but I don't know why she wasn't.
Hmm.
I didn't see Mr. Solo come in. Hi, Parasolo.
Hi, Parasolo.
Tell Dominic I said hi, and I just now caught that.
Oh, hi, Dominic.
No, that's my girl. My one of my best friends is her oldest is Dominic.
Oh, wow. There's so many
Yeah,
Dominics out
Dominic, and
there.
then she's got Dwayne, and then she's got Brantley, and she's yeah she's her boys are something else, but Dwayne's the worst.
Huh?
He's a handful. He's 4 or will be 4, but he is a handful, and
Mm,
he's got some beautiful curly hair. Let me tell you what,
mm.
but he's a handful. Oh, I'm sure. And Laura, that's just it. Is guarantee you at some point in our life we will meet and come across a murder.
Oh, yeah. I have no doubt it.
Meow. The baby whining. Yeah. Well, you don't have to even like I said. You don't have to be a serial killer. It can just be like you just said, somebody that's murdered somebody, somebody that's
Mm-hmm.
done something to somebody else. Yeah, it's scary to think, but this the way this world is.
Mm-hmm. Well, my
Hey,
cats do that too. They
Bentley's
do.
asleep.
They do that. Brr, brr, brr,
Uh, that bourbon, that bourbon.
brr, brr, brr. Yeah, they all do that. Picked it off of Chaos because Chaos does it a lot.
Uh-huh.
He's the oldest.
Yes, yes, yes. Da-da-da-da. It's just crazy how everything's been, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing. But I think tonight's been the best night so far with my being kind of nervous or whatever. I think I'm kind of finally got over. I'm doing well, better.
Good.
Then it makes a difference being comfortable and whatnot, and what
Yeah.
thing with everything that's been going on and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's just crazy,
Crazy Daisy.
crazy. Which kind of thing doesn't make no sense how that's not, because she's blue and that shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
That don't make no sense to me. Like it just her doing that, and then she thing because, and the only reason why I say that is the thing because she put Boomy's real name out there, and then she would know that because she was talking to him. So I'm wondering if she was
Mm,
something's happened and now she's going back. What did we all say?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
why
That's
do you
the
have to be
murder
here?
suicide. That happens a lot.
Yep.
It happens more not than it does because like
They they almost think of themselves as like angels of death. You know what I mean?
well, it's like I think they get to the point where they're mad or they don't want nobody else. They like I see it as a lot of them do it of um if I can't have you, then nobody can.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot
And
of those
and
murderers out there.
that's where that case of scenario is. I'm going to kill you, but I'm killing myself too because I'm not going to get charged with. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Colleen. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that very much. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. Giving you guys the information. I mean, it's interesting to find these different people from different walks of life, and um, even finding some of the older ones. I may continue to do like a little bit more with ones, like keep finding if I find more than one, because usually when I have like 11 pages, I know that's definitely almost that's a 2 hour. It's just finding information on some of them, but some of the killers, because of where they're from and stuff, they don't know a lot of the details of. Like there's one of them is a black guy who is in the Aquarius, and he was one of the two guys that was being a sniper in Washington.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know who you're
But
talking
it's not
about.
just him, but yeah, they ended up being the sniper. But there's not a whole lot of information about them at all. Like there, it's out there, and it was well known when it happened. But like, there isn't a whole lot of information about finding anything on it.
Hmm.
No, geez, that's not cool. Yeah, I've had, yeah, like you said, are you talking about the um like if I can't have you, nobody can? Yeah, it's it's very common. It's a jealousy thing. It really is. And the murder that happened here like a few years back was, like I said, the young boy, literally 17, because he was jealous of the girl that he had been with at one point in time, was jealous of her, and she was pregnant with another guy's kid, and she was almost full term, like she was literally due anytime. But he decided to show up at their house one evening and had brought a knife, a gun, and it just ended up in not good. He ended up killing the mom. He ended up killing the brother. He ended up killing the girl that was pregnant with him. So he, and then the attempted murder of the sister. She ended up living through that traumatic thing. She lived with two bullets. She had gotten shot twice in the head and lived through it. Um, but he had got charged with mom's murder, the boy's murder, um, the girl that he killed with the baby, and he got charged for the baby's murder and the attempted murder for the other one. And he was
Hmm.
only 17. So yeah, it's still a big issue. Like they still haven't done nothing with him. Like he's still sitting in jail, but like I think because of his age, like now he's probably, I want to say 19 or 20 now,
Hmm.
21. Yeah, so I think they were just how to do, and I'm like, how do you not? I mean, it's
Hmm.
that has to be rough on the daughter. And I was close to the girl because like doing youth things with our church. She and I will always remember that, because when we were on the one trip to our church does our kids going to sure what Christian church is that, or church, it's a church but it's a college in
Hmm.
uh, Anderson and Hales. Well, there's a trip you do every year that we were taking. We take our youth and take them there. That's what they're interested in doing for going to college. So that's what we would do, trips and go there. And that girl that weekend shared the bed with me that weekend. So like that was really hard for me to know, but I'm glad she lived and she's doing really well now. But like
Hmm.
to be a sole survivor of something like that, that is hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then they have that survivor's guilt because I never heard of that either until if Crazy Town. If you ever heard of the group Crazy Town, when they were
Mhm.
in that airplane accident and only the lead singer Seth and him were alive, but not even like I think a year later he committed suicide because of uh, survivor's guilt.
Mm.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, Anita.
Oh wow, yeah, it's crazy some of this stuff,
Mhm.
but I enjoy doing a lot of things because it also is informative. When you're
Oh
looking
yeah.
at things, because like I said, because like the doctor thing, if it wasn't for him doing, we wouldn't have the rules that we have. Some of them, it just, like I said, it's the thing. But there's even the states now. A lot of prostitution isn't allowed.
Mhm.
You get doing the women get thing. The women can be doing their thing, but like if you're a male and get caught with a prostitute, you can be in trouble.
Mhm.
I've watched a lot of that. So a lot of that's even changed in the different states of prostitution is illegal. You can't do it. It's not, no. That's
Mhm.
soliciting sex is a no-no in some states.
Mhm.
Oh, I am. I'm having a good evening. I don't let thing I it's pretty bad because I know most of the trolls are like it doesn't bother me no more. Like they think they're bothering most of us, and it's like really get a life.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I don't to try to whatever because I'm boring. Yeah, okay. If I'm
Mm-mm.
boring, then go away. You don't gotta watch
Right.
me. But my audience likes me, so you can't say that I'm thinking I'm boring. I've gained subscribers because of me doing this series. So,
Mm.
meow. Luna, Luna, Luna. Yeah, they'd like doing it to everybody here lately. That's well, they've been cloning everybody. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Okay, Laura. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where Dragon is. Otherwise, I tell her to go live so we could go over there and raid her and be over there. It's like, okay, you can go live now.
Mhm.
I guess that's a give or take though, because if you're doing something right, you always got haters.
Mhm. Yep.
Love you too, Colleen. Yeah, that's my baby kitty. She's not very noisy very often. It's usually Wisteria who's the loud one. Yeah, see, you heard me call your name. Look, she's coming right thing. Look,
Mhm.
this one's
Aw,
the one that's making the noise.
baby.
No, I'm gonna love her.
Mhm.
Oh. Yeah, it's a kitty. Oh. Yeah. Oh, she just laying on me. Are you comfy? Yeah. See ya. She says pet me. Shedding kitty. You is. Yeah, shedding kitty. Meow. Yep, you're about to be out of your heat, so you're gonna stop being a butt. And then you'll be a bitch again. Yep, because you're starting to be out of your heat. When she starts being out of her heat, then she don't want to be messed with. Yeah, go elsewhere.
Mm.
Aw, thank you. That's my daughter's cat. She's the oldest one of the house. She's about to be 5 in March. It's so quiet. So
Oh,
quiet.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Are you diamond dotting?
No, I was listening to you, and then when you stopped, I started playing Fortnite.
That's cool. Probably end up working on mine when we have dragons. I'll start working on my again.
Yeah, me too. The one in my room. Or the one in the living room. My mom's not in the living room, so.
But yep, I do have they're working on, but I do have my stencils for brick
Yay!
to work on my concept of my scrapbooking page that I wanted because I was like I'm not finding any. I wasn't finding actual 12 by 12 papers, and I even look at Hobby Lobby and through their papers, and they didn't even have any. And I'm like, what the hell?
That's strange.
So I was like, whatever, I'll um do it myself, and then I can color it in on my own and do it whatever. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
my scrapbooking pages I've done by myself. I've taken the time. Some of them it doesn't take me a minute, and then others you can tell I've taken my time and actually put my work into ideas into.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I do too. Like it's not hard. It's just for me. I am very if I have an idea and it starts popping into my head, I want that idea and that's what I stick with. So like sometimes a lot of times it's kind of like, oh damn it, I have to buy something else because I don't have it. Yeah, 10 o'clock, which is another half hour, Josh. Which I don't. I we told her at 9 o'clock. I said I do. She wanted to do 8, and I told her I do 2 hours. So she could have went live a half hour ago, but I don't know where she is. Does anybody talk to her in the chat or anything else?
Ah! I died. I haven't. I'm going to message her right now. Okay.
Oh, that finger hurts. I ain't putting no nails on now. That finger hurts.
Mm-mm.
Well, I got a stupid hangnail when I took the nail off and took too much, and now it stings. You know, when the nail goes back too far, and then the hangnail, like that's where it stings is the damn hangnail.
Mm.
I know she was here, right, Laura? Same. If I didn't have music, yeah, no, that's enough. Music has always been, always since I can remember. Music is a big thing. Yeah, I'm trying to talk to her and see if we can't figure out and figure out where she is and tell her to go live now so we can all just go over there.
Ugh.
It's crazy.
Where are you, Dragon? She hasn't responded to Facebook.
Yeah, for a minute, that's what I'm wondering, if this something didn't trigger, something didn't make her mad, and
Okay, good. One sec.
Well, I know too. I know she was the one who took out the stupid one who keeps cloning her. Yeah, well, it's like we do. That's why we just don't go into it and get over whatever about it, because we're done with it. Like, they can start shit and stay there, and it's just funny to me that they want to say like kind of like the first one, something of fuck me, something whatever, something of all the different people, and I'm like, okay then. Thanks for the view. uh, but you all should know, I haven't since day one, since I started this. I don't tolerate it. I'll boot you, or have my mods boot you. It's part of the reason why I had mods. Yeah, right, exactly. It's entertaining. No, actually, Banshee, she's actually doing a live here in the next half hour. Actually, but less than that. She has a live set for 10 o'clock. That's kind of funny because that means they already have you blocked, which I've come across a lot in other people's chats and not seeing, because they already whoever it is already has me blocked, so I don't see them. It's funny when they do that shit. It's like, here, you can't even see the trolls because they got you blocked already. Meow, meow, she says. It's 8:30 your time. Then you're an hour. You're the same time as Dragon's time is. Well, she's an hour behind me. Right? They're keyboard warriors, Laura.
Yeah.
I know, it's okay. I was just putting out there, and she don't. And Dragon's not one to drink anyway. Not a whole lot. She may drink, occasionally, but like she's like me.
Yeah, I don't drink that often either.
Like
I used to.
Right?
I used to be an
Was it back in the
alcoholic.
days too, when I was in my 20s?
Yeah, I used to be an alcoholic, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
Not anymore.
No, that's a good thing.
I don't know, Mom. No.
I'll turn it down so she can hear. Do you have your headphones on?
No, but I'm going to be switching to my computer as we speak.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just turn it on.
Okay.
Well, thank God I have 4, and thank God they're free.
I was just known because I was going to play music. So.
Oh. Go ahead. Neither do I. I need. Okay, be right back.
By myself up there.
So descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really think anyone can save me, and honestly I'm not really sure I want saving. I like to be my own worst enemy. There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my head's on straight, gotta flip it and grip it and go and get an x-ray. What's wrong with me? I just feel weight pushing on my chest and it squeezes till I suffocate. Better change my mindset, meditate. It's pretty cool that I'm alive and have better days. I could walk, see, hear, I should celebrate. Think I could change my mind,
yes.
maybe elevate. Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Yeah, all I need are some better days. Cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days. I'm kinda stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do I work hard or live at my pace? You're only young once, yeah that's all great, but I also want a future where I'm okay. Living life is doing lots of cocaine. Wait no, it's living with no shame. Wait no, it's sleeping in on Sundays. I guess it's different for each of us and that's okay. Well I just wanna be happy, how to get there? Glad that you asked me. I think it's different for everyone. Some of us need work, others need fun. Some of us need purpose to overcome. But try to do what you love when it's said and done. Cause there's so many differences in each of us. Trust your gut, it can show you what you want. Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Yeah, all I need are some better days. Cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days. Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Yeah, all I need are some better days. Cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days.
No, you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
Just so you know, these are the songs by Netflix that you can actually find in your studio music. This is in your audio library. These songs are in your audio library.
Oh, cool.
As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away. Cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be.
Are you not working?
But I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we can be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
Donna.
You're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Cause you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away. As you fade away.
If you want to come up, Donna, you can. I sent the link in our chat.
Come on up, Donna. You might need to turn down the music though.
Yeah, I figured that.
There we go.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget.
Yeah, it's 9 p.m. your time, and it's like
Treat the worst of times just like a
10 mine. Hey, Donna.
Hi. What up? What up? Not much. How about you?
I miss you, Solo. I sent the link in the chat, Miss Solo. If you want to come up for a minute. We're still trying to hear from Dragon because
Yeah.
I haven't heard nothing from her. Well, look, she finally posted it. Posted a StreamYard link for all of us.
Okay.
All right, y'all. I'm going to call it a night. Much love to you all. Please leave a like, subscribe. Thank you for being here and enjoying. Until next time, I'm hoping we'll start this again start doing Tuesdays, and I'm wanting to start chatting on the regular on other days. So much love to you all. See you later.
Much love. Bye.